Gaurav, we are sitting in the towering shadow of your father, Tarun Gogoi, who incidentally was the architect of modern Assam. What's the influence of your father on your personality and on your politics today?
Well, very much so. He leaves, huge imprint on my life and on the people of Assam as well, because he cared so much about the state, and he knew this state so well. He knew its economic profile, its social reality. He knew the pulls and pushes of all the different communities that make up the social fabric of Assam. And therefore, I lean a lot on the conversations that I've had with him, and I lean a lot on his books and on his interviews and his speeches in which he has outlined his vision for Assam.
Gaurav, tell us what are the poll planks that you are going with to your constituents, knowing that there is assembly elections upcoming in the state. What are the issues? What are you really offering to your constituents?
Well, the issues that really dominate the minds of the people of Assam is unemployment. There is a huge problem of unemployment in the northeast, especially in Assam, given the fact that the northeast and the state of Assam does not see much level of private sector investment compared to other parts of India. So the problem of unemployment is that much more acute. Secondly, therefore, when you don't have the right source of income, or when you don't have adequate source of income, the inflation that has taken place across all household commodities, market commodities, petrol, diesel, has led to a huge increase in costs of both household expenses as well as the expenses of small shops, small traders, and that again is a huge burden and a pinch point for the people of Assam. And they feel that the state government could have done much more. And while these two issues dominate the mind, I think what dominates the hearts of the people of Assam is how strongly we feel about our own unique culture and our own unique Assamese style of culture, and the way we, although there is a saying, Vasudev Kutumbakam, in Assam it has its own context given our, the principles of Mahapurush Srimanta Honkardev, Ajahn Pir, even the Ahom kings of Sukafa, Saulung Sukafa, the way they took everyone along. And that's a very unique Assamese way of life. And that seems to be threatened in the current political environment, and also by the Citizenship Amendment Act. So what we go with to the people are 5 guarantees, and those 5 guarantees are against CAA, that we will ensure CAA does not get passed or does not get accepted. We've set an ambitious target, a realistic but an ambitious target of 5 lakh new government jobs. At the same time, to provide some relief to the financial burden on the poor, we've announced that household women, their work will be recognized, and we are announcing a scheme of Grihini Sanman, so respect for the household work, and ensuring that people would get 2,000 rupees per month. And lastly, what we're saying is per month, you will get a free, people would be able to use 200 units of electricity free, just to relieve the economic burden. We do have other economic promises and other promises which would come up in the manifesto, but currently there are these 5 guarantees that hit the issues of that affect the heart and mind of Assam. I've outlined 3, there are 2 more. One which refers to the tea garden with respect to the daily wages, and I already have talked about the 2 issues for women, the 2,000 rupees per month, the 200 units of electricity, the Citizenship Amendment Act, and the 5 lakh guaranteed jobs in the government sector.
Your father was a stalwart, and he got Congress 3-time wins in the assembly polls here in Assam. And though your coalition with other political parties in Assam haven't really declared, announced a chief ministerial candidate, but would you see yourself as an inheritor or a successor?
Not at all. I'm not here for hankering after any personal post or any personal ambition of mine. I think I've already got a lot from the Congress party. They've made me a deputy leader of the Lok Sabha and AICC in charge of important states, as well as the member of the Congress Working Parliament, Congress Working Committee. So I'm not after any position or post. But for me, yes, definitely we will do all that we can to make sure that the Congress government comes to power, because we feel that what Assam right now needs, and so does the rest of India, is good, stable economic policies, a governance that focuses on employment and reducing the burden of inflation on the poor, and overall, a government that brings a culture which strengthens the Indian culture of taking everyone along.
So on that last point which you mentioned earlier as well, that Assam has its own unique culture where ethnicities, where different communities have been living together peacefully and in harmony. My question to you today is, how is it that the Congress, the secular party, is in alliance with AIUDF, which is being seen even by the Congress, by your own standards, was seen as a communal Muslim right-wing party?
Well, first of all, there is a reality in Assam which was prior to the launch of the Citizenship Amendment Act, and there's a reality in Assam which is the post-Citizenship Amendment Act. And almost you could say that there's a pre-CAA Assam and there's a post-CAA Assam. And you've seen how much people of Assam cared about the CAA, the way they came out on the streets protesting against Citizenship Amendment Act. You haven't seen those scenes of young people protesting, maybe for the last 40 years. Last time you saw such scenes in the streets of Guwahati were in the 80s. And therefore, in the post-CAA Assam, by and large, people of Assam want all opposition forces, all forces opposing CAA to be united. And that's not just the view of the ordinary people, but they're public intellectuals like Dr. Hiren Gogoi, who is a very well-respected intellectual, who are all saying that all opposing forces, all forces opposing CAA need to be united. So therefore, this election you see two alliances. There is a pro-CAA alliance in which there is BJP, and again to your question, there is the Assam Gana Parishad, who itself gave birth to the Assam Accord, which itself is now being threatened by the CAA Act. And on that, so that's the pro-CAA alliance, and taking them head on is the anti-CAA alliance, in which Congress, the Bodo People's Front, the AIUDF, the RJD from Bihar, the Left Front, we're all together. And I think that's what that is. So therefore, it does. While in the past it might have been inorganic for our political parties to come together, but right now in the post-CAA, it's a very organic coming together, very organic cohesion, largely, and it has been directed by the people of Assam as well. So you've seen people of Assam ever since last year, when Congress and AIUDF declared a joint candidate to be sent to the Rajya Sabha. People have taken for fait comply that yes, Congress, AIUDF, which in the past have clashed with each other, but in a post-CAA, Assam have come together to send a Rajya Sabha candidate to Rajya Sabha, and are part of an alliance in this election. So I think people of Assam want us to see us together to form a government.
If your coalition does come to power, how are you envisioning the repeal of CAA, which is essentially a central law? How do you think you will be able to do that? What is the mechanism that you are looking at?
Well, there are two steps to it. One is, of course, the legal way, which is in the Supreme Court. The CAA is already being challenged in the Supreme Court, and a future Congress government, a future state government will become a party to that case as well. Because with respect to the CAA, Assam has its own unique history with respect to Assam Accord, and Assam has already taken the burden of many people who have come and have settled in India, and therefore and we've had an established cut-off date for ourselves as well. So Assam's stand is very unique, and it's unfortunate that this state government of Assam is not presenting our case. So therefore, we will become a party to the case in the Supreme Court, present our unique perspective as well. And again, we will look at what legal remedies we have in terms of a state law, a state resolution, which again puts the primacy back at Assam Accord. We feel Assam Accord, with its cut-off date of 25th March 1971, for anybody who is entering India before or after, to be either defined as legal or illegal. That is the cutoff, that is the Lakshman Rekha, and we would look at constitutional methods to uphold that Lakshman Rekha.
So I'm a bit unclear about how Assam Accord is in contradiction with CAA, because as far as I understand, CAA is essentially for religious minorities in the Islamic countries surrounding us, three countries to be specific: Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Bangladesh. And the CAA just fast tracks the citizenship of those religious minorities who are persecuted because of their religious identity in these three countries. So, how is Assam Accord in contradiction with that?
See, the Assam Accord has a cutoff date of 25th March 1971, and anybody who comes into Assam after that is to be defined as an illegal immigrant. Right? Anybody who comes into Assam after that is supposed to be defined as an illegal immigrant, irrespective of whichever religion they come from, irrespective of whichever part of the world they come from. Of course, if they do apply for some form of religious relief because or some form of refugee relief, that they have to do with the government of India and follow the processes which are already existing. But the CAA says that up to December 2014, all those who have entered without submitting any substantial proof of religious persecution, right now Government of India has no defined rules as to how do you say that you have been religiously persecuted in any of the neighboring countries, almost gives a blanket stay without making any distinguishing features between a person fleeing religious persecution or a person being an economic immigrant as well. And there are no checks and balances. So we feel that this is absolutely it's unconstitutional. B, it violates the spirit of the Assam Accord. There are genuine people who would seek refugee status. That is not an issue, but we are against citizenship, which guarantees voting rights as well. We have to define the difference between a refugee status and a citizenship status as well. And all of this needs to be taken in account in consultation with every state as well. You cannot just Assam cannot be some kind of a vassal state for the government of India, for the people sitting in Delhi, and they can do whatever they feel with the people of Assam, especially when there's so much of protest. I thought we are living in a democracy, and democracy means taking everyone along. And what did we see when those massive protests? We saw 5 young people being shot dead, and we don't know who the culprits are. Is it the police? Is it somebody else? Those 5 people, those 5 young Indian boys, they deserve justice, because what was their crime? They only shouted "Joy Ayapam," which means praise Mother Assam, and they said "Ka Ami Namano," which translates to "We won't accept Ka." So what is the crime they did for which these 5 young boys got shot? So the entire way. We feel CAA, A, is an unconstitutional method, B, has nothing concrete to offer to anyone seeking relief from religious persecution, and C, it's completely the way they violated the Assam Accord it's almost an insult to all those people who lost their lives during the Assam agitation.
In a way, both of you are saying that you are not willing to accept illegal immigrants from Bangladesh settling in Assam. It's just that you are saying that both Assamese, Bengali Muslims and Bengali Hindu illegal immigrants should not get citizenship, but the BJP in a way through CA is saying that only Hindu, Bengali illegal immigrants can settle, but Muslim immigrants, illegal immigrants cannot settle. Is that the bottom line? Is that the crux of what these two opposing ideologies are really proposing?
No, I would say that, as I said, my second point is also that the BJP has nothing concrete to offer. Now, even if you were a Hindu escaping religious persecution in Bangladesh, so there are procedures. India already has an established procedure for people to come to India to seek relief. We have refugees from Afghanistan, we have refugees from Iran. So there's an established procedure. This seems to be nothing but an empty promise to the people of Assam, and it seems to be stemming out from the fact that the government of Assam, the BJP government, completely botched up the implementation of the NRC, the National Registers of Citizenship, so in which many genuine Indian citizens got excluded. So instead of giving them the legal mechanisms through the NRC to appeal the fact that they are actually genuine citizens and they have been wrongly excluded, the BJP is coming out with a which is an unconstitutional law, which at some point will be struck down, and therefore when it is a law that is going to be struck down, is giving false hope, all for politics and votes. So I think it will be to reduce it to the fact that it is issue of religion is not. I don't think there's any substantive in the CA. They are genuine issues. They should be addressed as per the letter and spirit of the Indian Constitution. They are genuine people who need the help of the government of India, but that should be addressed with the spirit of the Assam Accord as well.
One last question. What is your election assessment for the Congress party? How many seats are you expecting in the assembly polls?
Well, every day the gap is, which seems to be between the BJP and the Congress seems to be just getting closer and closer. And I think in another week's time we will just overtake them, and we are quite confident of forming the government. And right now, what we are concentrating on and beginning to focus on is that after winning the government, then what? Because our priorities go beyond just winning elections. That's where we differentiate ourselves from the BJP. It's for us, it's more than just grabbing power, and therefore, as I said, the real issues are unemployment, inflation, corruption, women empowerment, the crimes that are against women, Assam and its unique history with the Assam Accord. There's so much to do. So therefore, it's beyond seats. It's right now what's going to be our roadmap for the first year, because our target is that if we have 5 lakh jobs for 5 years, in the first year we have to hit 1 lakh jobs. So there's a very ambitious plan. So we're almost on the verge of thinking about the first 6 months of our work after government comes to power.